Okay, so this video is on how to pick a book. I haven't read many self-help books in my life. I've started about 30 and I finished about 4. I found that many of them, once I got 3 or 4 chapters in, I wasn't really being drawn to reading more, so I'd give up. But the important thing for you is to have multiple sources of insight that you can draw from, as many as possible. Just keep bringing them in. So I'm going to get right into this now. Okay, so obviously you're going to want to go to a library or a bookstore or a used bookstore will also work. And you want to just obviously look through the titles and see if there's one that speaks to you, right? And then the first thing you want to do is obviously read the back of it or the inside cover, wherever the summing up of the book will be. From there, you're going to want to go to the table of contents, and you're going to really want to you want to read every single one. Okay, so this is called How to Read a Book. Okay, so pigeonholing a book, X-raying a book, coming to terms with an author. These things, don't really speak to me. So I already I'm thinking I don't really like this book, but I don't know yet. Okay, so then I'll go to the back, I'll go to the glossary, and I'll start looking at all the stuff that they've got in there. Okay, or in the index rather. Okay, so Faraday, Michael, I don't know who that is. The Grapes of Wrath, that's old. I'm pretty sure. I'm not too down for that. Leopold, not that old is bad, but black and white movies. Latini, Brunetto, Lives of the Noble Grecians and Romans, Plutarch. Like, holy crap, what is this book? Why is he talking about that in this book? Okay, so again, right now I'm feeling, no, I don't like this book. From there, you want to go in and you just want to pick like random spots. Okay, you could start with the introduction, but the introduction is really just kind of warming you up to the idea, and it's not really getting into what it's really about. Okay, so from here I go. Of course, this is only one way of doing the job. There are many others. The first 3 articles could be grouped together in one major division, for instance, or instead of 2 divisions with respect to the amendments, more major divisions could be introduced, grouping the amendments according to the problems they dealt with. We suggest that you try your hand at making your own division of the Constitution into its main parts. Go even further than we did and try to state the parts of the parts as well. This is a book on how to read a book. Okay, let's try another one. Any page, I'm going to find suckage. Let us suppose, in fact, we think it can be done, that you are able to identify some common meaning in these various conceptions of human love. Even then, not all of your problems are solved. Consider the ways in which love manifests itself between and among human beings. Okay, so somehow I actually managed to find something worthwhile in this book. Anyway, the only useful book that I ever got, or the only useful insight I got out of this book was thankfully within the first 20 pages, and that was how to pick a book. And I don't remember anything of the next 80 before I finally gave up on it. Okay, so you want to go through all of those, and every step of the way you want to check in with yourself. It's like, how do I feel about this? Is this exciting me? Is this inspiring me? Or am I kind of taking a step back? And then if you're taking a step back in the first 2 steps, go through them all. Okay, make sure you read some passages through it. Okay, so when picking your first book, an important factor to consider is the width of it. Okay, so this book is full of crap. This book is full of useful information. Okay, it's not a hardcore rule to go by, but I do find that if they are smaller, then they tend to get to the point. Okay, whereas the ones that are bigger tend to gloss around. They'll be like, oh, because of this research, we created this thing, and then they get into philosophy behind the meaning and the why of something that might work. You don't really need to know 8 pages of why something works. You just really need to know it works for you, if it does. Okay. Other key things to look for is, as you're flipping through the pages, see if there's bullet points. See if they separate the page into several different things, okay? So right here, we've got, boldened questions, right? So it's asking you to consider yourself. It's asking you to look at yourself. There's other things too here. Let me see. Bear with me. Okay, so again, there's some bullet form stuff there. He asks questions where it's like, interviews yourself. If I were this way, then I would be. The other nice thing about this book, and that you definitely want to look into, is how long each passage or how long each subsection of the chapter is. Okay, so this is called the first step to wholeness, discover your whole story. Okay, so you got that much to read, and then all of this, and then all of that, and then it stops there. And, that's a great place to stop reading the book at that point. You've picked it up, you've read that little bit, it has an insight. Give yourself a second to process it. If you want to move on, you can. But the point is, if you get into a book and it's got like 9 pages of small print, chances are you're going to start doing that thing we all do where we start glossing over the information. Okay, so it's a very important factor. Yeah, I am going to get into a few suggestions, and these suggestions actually break the rules here and there that I've just established. But the important thing is that you go with what you feel like. Okay, so say you've got a book and it's got all of these different things, and you feel like it's a really great book, but in your head you're thinking, oh, but Jai said it should be a smaller book. No. Don't worry about what Jai said. Okay, if it feels right, get it. Okay, and even if you get home and you start reading it, and you're 2 chapters in, and you're finding, it's like you really don't want to pick it up. It's like, oh my God, do I really have to read this again? Okay, so it didn't work out. That's okay. Just take it back, or return it to the library and get another one. Okay, as long as you're trusting that feeling, the result doesn't matter. Okay, you're trying to tap into that. Okay, and eventually it'll come around to a point where the feeling will guide you properly. What else is there? I think that's it. Okay, I'm pretty sure I missed something. Yeah. Well, I'm just gonna have to roll with that because that's a fairly decent take. So, all right.